Now, tonight, we're joined by a woman who has lived many lives, many lives, from a human rights lawyer during the apartheid era to a corporate executive to an entrepreneur to an author to a fierce challenger of taboos. Sharon Gordon has stood in courtrooms defending justice. She's led she's led at executive level rather in global businesses and later disrupted South Africa's adult industry with her brand that is Lola Montez. Today, she's also known for her work in the menstrual health advocacy through Dignity Dreams and for speaking boldly about relationships, sensuality, and the quiet shifts that transform love. She calls herself a wisdom seeker and a fearless teller of necessary truths. And tonight we're going to lean into both. Welcome, Sharon.
Thanks so much. So good to be here. It's a bit late for me because I normally go to bed quite early, but hey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you a ton for taking the time to speak to us. Let's start off with you having moved through these various industries, right? I'd love to know what your take homes are, right? Given where you are right now.
I think I was born to be a warrior and to challenge the norms of life. I was born as the middle child, and I think I was the child that my father wanted as a son. And so I was the boy, and that gave me courage, I think, that most women don't have. And so I was never going to have a normal childhood or a normal adultcy, because I'm quite old. So I was the forefront of women going to university, women going into business, women sitting on boards. Although there were some wonderful women who came ahead of me and on whose shoulders I stood, and hopefully the woman coming behind me will stand on my shoulders.
Absolutely. Now, you once said that power tastes like cream soda. I need to understand that. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay, so when I was, during one of my lifetimes, I was the CEO of Human Resources for Billiton International. And when you can make every single mine manager in the world, and I mean in Colombia, in Argentina, in in the South American countries and all over South Africa, put cream soda in their bar fridge because you're coming to visit, you know that power tastes like cream soda.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I am silenced.
Yeah, because they normally drink other stuff, and
Yeah.
I just drank cream soda, so cream soda it was.
Sure. And then in 2002, you took that bold step to enter the world of the adult industry with Lola Montez. That was a bold move, given the context of South Africa at the time. What gaps did you notice? What swayed you to that context?
Okay, so how I got there was, I think the way most women change their lives is I got divorced. And I had lost all my confidence. I didn't believe that I'd ever be loved again. I thought that my partners would, I'd never have another partner. But I also knew that sex was good for me. So I needed to continue having orgasms because, Oprah had said that 200 orgasms a year make you look 4 years younger. I'm planning to look 12 by the end of the year. So I knew that it was good for me and that I needed to make sure that I still had a sex life of sorts. And so I decided that what I needed was a vibrator. They were available, but they were those like seedy shops, they're still around, you didn't really want to be seen in them. And the first Friday I went, I actually couldn't go in. It just felt too seedy for me and too terrible. And the following Friday, my best friend and I went to a restaurant for breakfast. And as we did every now and then, we had tequila for breakfast. And then I was very, very brave. And I walked into the shop and, you know, sort of stormed in with all the confidence in the world and bought my first vibrator, which was penis looking and bright pink, and I called it Softy. Don't know why, but it was Softy. And when I left and I was driving home, I thought, you know what, nobody deserves to feel this dirty about their sexuality, because that shop was horrible. The floors were sticky, there were beaded curtains, there was porn on the screens. And I just thought, why does sex have such a horrible connotation when it's necessary for the human race to survive? Why are we so ashamed and so embarrassed, and why do we make it such a sleazy industry? And then and there I decided that I was going to change it, because I needed a space where I could go as a woman and feel safe and be able to ask questions and get real information and not feel like I was committing a sin. And I went to Australia and had a look at what they were doing there. They had an adult world which had just listed, but they, you know, it was our adult world with white walls. And then I went overseas and I had a look at Ann Summers, and I went to a big show, and I came back with 3 suitcases filled with sex toys, which was very exciting coming through customs. And I had a market day at my house, and I sold everything except 1 pair of handcuffs, which I still have, by the way. I thought I'd never sell them because, you know, they were so significant in the future. And I sold everything, and I went, okay, so there's a market here. And that's how it started.
The voice there of Sharon Gordon, who is a sexologist, as well as one who identifies as a wisdom seeker and fearless teller of necessary truths. And tonight we are delving and leaning into both. 41 after 10 p.m. Central Africa time. Sharon, we're taking a quick breather. When we get back, we continue conversations.
It's African Diaries on Channel Africa.
42 after 10 p.m. Central Africa time. If you have just joined us, thank you so much for choosing us over the rest. We're still in conversation with Sharon Gordon, and we are exploring 7 shifts. I mean, we're going to get to that place where we talk about these 7 tiny shifts that aid relationships. Now we're still looking at Lola Montez and essentially how Sharon stepped into the world of the adult industry in South Africa in 2002. Now, Sharon, for someone who has never stepped into an adult store and they're saying to themselves the very same way you felt, you know, there's a grim feeling, you feel guilty, you feel shame, and you almost are like, what am I doing here? Talk to me about, firstly, that level of confidence, of course, without the tequila shot. How should we program our thinking so that
Come on, what's wrong with tequila?
Nothing, absolutely nothing. So how do we program our brain? Yeah.
Okay, so look, I think that it's become far more normalized. You know, you can now buy sex toys at Clicks, at Dischem. I still think that, you know, the wonderful thing about specialist stores, and look, there are very few around because the market has changed so significantly over the years. But I think that you need to come to terms with the fact, and it's a very female thing, is we don't experience pleasure, and we don't believe that we're entitled to pleasure. So sex for us is still one of those obligation things. And if we enjoy it, then, you know, you're a little bit slutty maybe, and I just think that all of that should, you know, we're in the 21st century. We know that sex is good for you. We know that in fact, women can experience far more pleasure than men, because the clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings and the tip of the penis 3,000. So why have we been depriving ourselves all these years? And I do think that patriarchy has a lot to do with it. So when you walk into a adult store and it feels a little bit like your heart's doing this, that's okay, because it's exciting. It's something new and exciting to do. And hopefully you're walking into one where the people behind the counter know what they're talking about, and they can give you really good advice. And they're going to ask you questions like, are you a clit or G-spot girl? Are you playing with or without your partner? Is it a long distance relationship? Because since I started with good old Softy, who took 2 AA batteries, they're now remote controlled or app controlled. So your partner can be living in Dubai and you could be living here and going, woo! And it's you're not being shocked. You're having pleasure, and your partner's giving it to you from across the world. So the world's changed, and toys have changed. They no longer look like Softy. They're now beautiful. They look like designer sculptures that could sit next to your bed.
You have the team and I cackling in studio, Sharon. Thank you so much for that.
Well, you see, I should be there and I should have them there going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That would have been world changing. Let's talk about product range and who's buying more products, because it almost seems as though the industry's tilted toward women. Is that a reality?
Yeah, well, remember, we've got more orifices to stick things in, so, but at the end of the day, the sadness is that men still buy more. They still have the disposable income. A woman will walk into the shop and she'll go, if I buy that, I can't buy this new school shoes, or, I don't know how I'm going to buy the groceries for the week or whatever. And a man will come in and he'll go, one for my wife, one for my lover, one for my secretary, one for my secretary. And, so men still buy more than women do, which I think is a very sad indication of how much self-love and care we give ourselves. But I do think that it's changing. Obviously, more women are buying, but they're expensive. Yes, you can get cheap and cheerful, which really maybe we should be stocking, because what happens is that cheap and cheerful breaks, and then you come back for another one because they're so nice. Whereas the range that Lola Montez sells, they come with 5-year warranties. Although I keep saying, who wants to use the same toy for 5 years? Come on, let's get excited and try some new stuff.
Let's shift to the article you wrote about the small shifts that that couples can practice as compared to the big gestures, and how these benefit relationships. Now, you speak about this 7 tiny shifts. Perhaps let's get into them. Perhaps a brief overview of the 7 shifts.
Okay, so they're little things that you can practice every day in your relationship. So I've been in my relationship, subsequent to Softy, I met a very gorgeous man who have been together now for 23 years. But you get tired of each other, huh? You've heard the stories, you've raised the children, Mondays you have cottage pie, Tuesdays you have steak, egg and chips, like Shirley Valentine. And so it takes an enormous amount. You've got to keep watching for those shifts that are going to make your relationship high, because it's very, very difficult to get it back once it's dead. And so you've got to keep it alive. And these are tiny little things that you do every single day. Added up, I think it comes to maybe 2 minutes of your day. And if you do those things every single day, you will feel appreciated and loved, and your relationship will continue to have meaning. And and it keeps you connected. It keeps, our bodies are a pharmacy all by themselves. Everything we do affects the hormones in it. Dopamine, estrogen, testosterone, all the feel good ones like dopamine. That's the big one. It's the happy drug. And if you do these little things, it spikes the dopamine. And who doesn't want to be happy? Who doesn't want to have little moments of glorious happiness every day in your relationship? So that's why you do it.
It is 49 minutes after 10 p.m. Central Africa time. We're still in conversation with all-round superstar in my books. She's also a sexologist. This is Sharon Gordon, and we're going to be getting into those 7 tiny gestures. I see that on TikTok. Everyone is like, what are these? Sharon, tell us, what are they? So let's take a quick breather. When we get back, we get into those 7 shifts. 51 after 10 p.m. Central Africa time. We are still in conversation with Sharon Gordon, who's giving us these 7 small shifts, 7 tiny shifts that take about 2 minutes of your time to sustain that relationship with your loved one, your romantic partner, that is. Sharon, we've been waiting at the edge of our seat with bated breath. What are these 7 shifts?
Well, I hope they're not going to disappoint you, because they really are small. And I mean, they start with, think about yourself. Think about what makes you feel good. And one of the things that makes you feel good is to feel appreciated. You pick up the socks, you do the washing, you do the cooking, you go to work, you make sure the lights are off, you get the kids to school, you pack the lunches. Nobody ever says thank you. Nobody ever says, wow, look at you go. And I don't know about you, but I got very resentful about doing all that stuff. And so saying one little appreciation every day, and not just thank you, because you know what, I've learned recently that very few people say please and thank you. So if you are listening, get your children to say please and thank you. It shows respect. But so when your partner does something, and every day find one thing that you can feel appreciative of, which was, maybe it's like, oh, thanks for making me laugh today when I was feeling so stressed. Or thanks for handling the phone call with my mother as well as you did. Because that makes you feel like, wow, my partner noticed. They saw me. They made me feel good. So that's the first one, and it just brings appreciation and shows that your partner notices the little things you do. The next one is, and I've got a very good friend who I gave a lecture to. She always says I give her unsolicited advice. Well, this is unsolicited advice. Pause before you react. If I fly off the handle very quickly. I know you can't see, but I've got red hair and I've always had a bit of a temper. But before you fly off the handle, just pause. Just think about it. Just wait. And, and I actually advised her to put an elastic band on her arm, so that the minute she could feel that rise of anger, you just flick it and go, okay, hang on. Am I overreacting here? Because, we all come to a relationship with all the baggage from our childhood and previous relationships. I always say I feel so sorry for my partner, because he gets punished for all the husbands that came before, and he had nothing to do with any of that. So just pause before you react and try not to be nasty. Because, one of the things I learned from my first marriage is that you can't take it back. Once those vicious words have landed, they're there. You can't say sorry. You can't take them back. You can't say I didn't mean it, because you did. You said it. So be careful what you say, because you can't take it back. It's like breaking a plate. You can stick it back together, but it's never going to be beautiful because it's broken. And the nasty things you say can break a relationship very, very quickly. The next one is that, and this one is my big one, build a daily non-sexual touch point. When you've been in a relationship for so long, you don't kiss anymore, you don't hold hands, you don't cuddle. Who's got time? You're busy, but make sure that you do, because what happens if you don't is the only time you'll touch each other is when you need a shag. And then you become resentful about that, because it's like, he only ever touches me when he wants to have sex. Why can't we just hold hands like we used to? Well, you've got to have this conversation. You've got to say, you know what, I'm tired of us only touching when we have sex on the table. Could we touch without sex being on the table? So we're in the kitchen preparing. I'd love you to feel nice, but don't expect sex afterwards. Just feel nice, because it's a nice ass. I exercise really hard to get it that shapely, Hold my hand while we're watching TV. That's really cool. Let's hug until the dopamine kicks in. Wouldn't that be nice? But I always say that the prime real estate is off the table. So you can't touch my breasts. You can't touch my vagina or my vulva. You've got to touch non-sexual parts of my body. And if you really want to make me excited, you just have to touch me over here. That for me is my happy spot. You want to kiss that? Be my guest. But sex is off the table. It's just about reconnecting and retouching and finding pleasure in touching each other's bodies without there having to be the expectation of having sex afterwards. The fourth one is ask a curious question a day. Now, I have to ask ChatGPT for mine every single day because I can't come up with them. My brain has got too foggy. But what I mean by that was not, how was your day? Because we ask each other that anyway. The question has to be is, what are you excited about for the coming week? Or what did you learn at work today? Not what frustrated you, because you know what, we all know that we have frustrations, and Bill at the office is an idiot and he irritated you again. We've heard that story, but let's ask really curious questions, like, why is the sky blue? Maybe he knows. I'm very grateful because my partner does a lot of research, and he comes home and he goes, did you know that X, Y, and Z happened? And I go, no, I didn't. My word, isn't that exciting and something new to learn? And as I said, if you don't have an imagination like me, ask AI. They come up with fantastic questions you can ask. I've got a whole list. And before he gets home, I quickly have a look at what my next question's going to be. And the answer really is always surprising. The fifth one is, repair quickly, not perfectly. Because if you fight, no relationship is conflict-free. If it is, you're both lying about something. There will always be conflict because you're different people. You come out of different homes. You come out of different things trigger you. I actually laughed. One of the things that my partner sent to me this week was on Insta. And it was a woman who was duct taped. So her mouth was duct taped and she was duct taped. And he made her sit. And he did all the things that irritated her, like spilling the sugar when he's putting sugar in his coffee. And there was nothing she could do about it because she was all tied up and gagged. Or, leaving his socks on the bathroom floor. And those little resentments build up. And then you have this big fight, and then if one of you is a sulker, then it's going to last for a very long time. So fix it quickly, because that sulking doesn't do anybody any good. It keeps that resentment bubbling. And a very easy thing to say, and I know that this is really hard for a lot of people, including me, I don't say sorry very easily, is to say, I'm really sorry, I heard how that landed, and that's not how it was meant. Or, I didn't mean to hurt you. But a relationship is about being able to have the difficult conversations. It's about being able to say, things are hard. I'm battling a little bit over here. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got everything to do with me. But we need to talk about it. Or I felt really hurt when you did X, Y, and Z. Deal with it in the moment, because if you don't, it's going to fester and it's going to be horrible when it eventually comes out. Number 6 is you must protect one shared ritual. And by that I mean, so I have a very good friend who every morning he and his daughter and his wife sit outside on the patio, and they have to mention 5 things they're grateful for before they get ready for the day. And it's their family tradition, it's what they do. My family, we always sit at the table and eat. We sit down for dinner at 7 o'clock, everybody's at the table. We check table manners, we chat, we fight about politics, about sex. It's really interesting because my table, we're always talking about sex, so that's always interesting. But it's a ritual in my family, and we cling to it because it gives us a sense of purpose, it gives us a sense of belonging. And even when things are tough, we know that we're here for each other. We've got a ritual. So it doesn't have to be any of that. It can be you say you love each other before you go to work, and it always happens. You can go for a walk once a week. You can do anything, but it must be something that you do and it doesn't have to be every day, but if you choose to do it on a Monday, then it must be a Monday. That's what you must do. That's your family's ritual. And include the children in it, because it teaches them that there's a sense of belonging in family, and that families do things together. And sometimes you don't feel like going for the family walk, but do it. In the Jewish faith, if you are very religious, you walk to shul on a Saturday with your family. And I think it's a wonderful thing to do, because you are forced to not sit in the car, you're not forced to drive, you're walking with your family, you can have a conversation, and it's a ritual. It's something that you do for the family, and I think that is a really important thing to do. And then last but not least is you must always end the day on the same page. Don't go to bed sulking, don't go to bed fighting. You're on the same team here. And if you don't go to sleep feeling like you're in the same team, that relationship won't last. You have got to get it to last. And you've got to, before you go to bed, say, we're on the same team, hey? We're okay. Are we good? Yes, we're good. And it just gives your heart and your sense of security and love for your partner. It's such a little thing to do, and yet it makes so much difference. And I think that all of this is related to those chemicals that are running around in our bodies that we don't really understand yet. And we're beginning to understand it. And I'm one of the last people to believe in any of that, because it's all a bit woo-woo for me. But the science is showing that sort of stuff works. So if you just did these 7 little things, you would be able to keep your relationship alive and vibrant and interesting and curious. And it takes such a little effort.
Yeah. Sharon, this is all we have time for, but we thank you so much. I cannot wait to speak to you again. And please do have a blessed one.
Thank you.
The voice there of relationship coach and sexologist Sharon Gordon joining us this evening, also identifying as a wisdom seeker and a fearless teller of necessary truths. 4 after 11 Central African time.